public education for our students.
Defend public education, save our students. Steve Conn, presidential candidate for DFT. If elected, I pledge my presidency to the defense of public education against the billionaires who want to privatize our schools. I pledge my presidency to restoring dignity and pride for every Detroit teacher. I pledge my presidency for equal quality public education for all the young people of Detroit. Now we've got a full plate. We've got a full plate here. Make no mistake about it. We've got an agenda of national, state, and local issues we've got to take up. The Elementary Secondary Education Act is up for renewal, and we, as DFT, need to be in Washington saying we've got to roll back all the destruction that began against the poor black, Latino, and poor white working class students in public education throughout this country, beginning with No Child Left Behind. It's been a disaster, and we're the first and the best to say so, and we need to go to Washington for that. There's going to be a so-called compromise conference with Randy Weingarten, our AFT national president, the National Education Association, that other union, and Arnie Duncan, to compromise around education, further compromise and destroy our rights and privatize public education. And that's coming up in the spring, according to an NEA press release that's just come out. We need to be there, saying the answer is not more of these so-called reforms that are nothing but destroying public education. The answer is ending separate, unequal education in America. The answer is providing the funds to all the schools. The answer is stopping the privatization of public education. Education is a right. It's not Arnie's race. We're there. We're going to be there in Washington to say just that. At the state level, we need to be in Lansing with all the other teachers' unions and public education supporters and teachers and students and parents from all across the state demanding full funding for education. We need to stand against this Public Act 72, which is condemning every poor majority black district to no elected school board but an emergency financial manager. Right. How unequal, how racist. It needs to end. We're the ones that can unite all the cities of Michigan together and all the poor white rural areas together against this heinous destruction of democratic rights and school and education. Locally, we're going to continue what we started in the lawsuit against the TIP. And we stand a much greater chance of winning with the union on board that lawsuit rather than opposing the lawsuit and proudly proclaiming this idea of taking $10,000 out of our checks to fund our jobs. Right. How insane. Back the TIP lawsuit. We will fight that TIP lawsuit to victory. We're going to look into a civil rights lawsuit against the Teach for America. Because look, it's so blatant. We have majority black substitutes working for certification for years, some of them inches away from certification, and we have a predominantly, overwhelmingly white, young, right out of college, no education, no desire to go into education at all, supposedly geniuses in physics and math, in truth, hardly educated in anything they're teaching at all, and replacing our hard, long-working substitutes. We can beat it. We can beat it, but we need to be in the union, using the resources of the union to win that launch and win that civil rights lawsuit. The DFT is a powerhouse. We can mobilize the community, get the students, the teachers, through a series of public meetings. We can bring in the parents to discuss real reform in education, not these lies. Reduce the class size, get us the books and supplies we need, get us equality, end this gross and increasing inequality that's the real crisis of education. Mobilize the people of Detroit, first in meetings and then in marches, to demand equal rights, to demand civil rights in education. They say cut budgets. We say we want the resources. We want the class size reduced. They say testing. We want a full range of quality programs, art, music, gym in all the schools, not these teach to the test, standardized tests. They say eliminate tenure. We say tenure is important. A stable workforce of quality, long-standing teachers is crucial to the education of the young people. We need to put everything in terms of what is good for the young people. As teachers, we have the answers. We should not accept the Weingarten-Duncan idea that teachers are separate from the students. But that's what the reform is based on, trying to drive a wedge between us and the community, a wedge between us and the students. We can win, but we got to say the truth, that what we want is right for the students. It's our right as teachers to have it, and it's their futures on the line. Steve Conn, building rep at Cass Tech for 2 decades. Worked with BAM, and a part of BAM in defending affirmative action at the United States Supreme Court in 2003, part of helped to organize a 50,000-person march on Washington in 2003 at the Supreme Court that the DFT sent buses to because of Bam and myself urging it, demanding it. Stood against Proposal E and organized for the defeat of Proposal E in 2004, which was mayoral control. Struck and helped strike in 2006. Fired in 2007, won my job back, didn't stop fighting, kept fighting, fighting against the school closing, fighting for my students, fighting for my city. Our group has fought the tip, has fought and successfully stopped Dave Bing's takeover. We've been fighting Bob all along, and we're going to continue to fight for you. This is your chance, members, to break with Johnson and Weingarten. And also men who, though they criticize Johnson now, never got up the nerve to criticize him during his presidency. So how are they going to possibly, if they can't stand up to Keith Johnson, stand up to Robert Bob and Arnie Duncan? I'm sorry. Fine words here in the safe contours of this room. Who's actually been fighting outside, taking the heat for you? Who can win? Our slate can win. May I introduce?
Yes, you may.
Woo! Great.
Deborah Fisher and Gina Porter, vice presidential candidates on our slate. Nicole Conaway, our treasurer candidate, who have been fighting for you.